If you click on this video, you might have heard some events or news that are related to AI. From memory shortage that we are experiencing, to the vast number of AI tools that are available. For that reason, it sparked a debate on whether we should be afraid that AI is going to replace us. In my view, AI will replace those who don't use it, those who won't use AI to assist them in doing their work. Keyword assist, not replace. But even then, as someone who usually uses AI, and as an informatics major student myself, I'm not blinded by the negatives of using AI too much, since it is a double-edged sword. And I can't even begin to comprehend as to why these companies are making astounding number of investments this early on. But let's take it from the top. Arvind Krishna, who was the CEO of IBM at the time of this video's release, sounded a warning for these companies and the public about these massive AI data center investments. Why is that? Because they were planning to build 100 gigawatt data centers to keep up with demand. That's $80 billion per data center, which, if you do the math, that equals a whopping $8 trillion of cost to build. And the scary part? We're not even actually sure if they could make a profit out of it. Not only that, but they also must replace these data centers every 5 years, so it won't be obsolete. Thus, another $8 trillion of cost to rebuild those machines. And not to mention the various aspects that factor in the cost, such as GPU, land, cooling, energy, maintenance, chip obsolescence, and power infrastructure. Now, another problem which has become a trend recently is where some people just use AI to replace most of their work, particularly in the context of writing essays. According to this study, 54 participants were assigned to 3 groups, which are the LLM group, search only group, and the break only group. These groups were assigned to write an essay during 4 sessions, using their designated tool, with the latter group having no tools at all. After the 4 sessions, it is concluded that, while AI is incredibly beneficial, the participants in the AI group performed worse than the search-only group, let alone the brain-only group. They underperformed in terms of trying to recall a quote from their essays, brain activity, or their perception of essay ownership. After everything that I've just described, there are multiple problems that I could think of. The first being the ease for people to use AI to cheat their way in doing assignments, like writing essays, clearly undermines the value of integrity and honesty. If you are heavily relying on AI to have it do most of the work for you, then what's the point? You won't learn anything valuable out of it, and you basically just weaken your own learning skills and critical thinking. However, going back to that same study, the brain-only group performed better when they use AI tools, meaning that if it is used correctly, AI will be useful. By correctly, I mean using it to assist you, not replacing you. For instance, as I was brainstorming my ideas for this video script, I had Grammarly enabled, so that is technically an AI tool right there. So yes, AI is useful by aiding in refining our work while keeping the core ideas you had written intact. Though whether it is worth investing $8 trillion for this technology is beyond me. The only question that I could think of is, why? Why such a massive commitment this early on to the point of memory shortage? Arguably, one of the most important problems to consider is its environmental impact. These data centers consume a vast amount of energy to run them, which contributes to a significant number of global carbon emissions. On top of that, it is also cooled by an ocean full of water. A Cornell University study states that this AI demand alone will cause 4.2 to 6.6 billion cubic meters of water annually by 2027. More power consumption, more carbon emissions, and pollution. Another problem is accessibility. Investing this amount of money on AI while overlooking those who don't have access to it yet generates a digital divide, or a gap, if you will. Since there are still some parts of the world that don't have access to the internet, let alone access to use AI, particularly in developing countries. The next thing is privacy concern and transparency, which are other significant problems to account for, because these data centers store a huge amount of potentially sensitive information about us, the users. This raises the consequences if a data breach has happened. Not to mention that we're oblivious to how these data are being processed, aside from what's being mentioned in their privacy policy or terms of service. Not that I personally read it myself though, but that concern is still there. Finally, but not least, there is biased data. Having that huge amount of data stored poses a risk if that data is being tampered with. Since AI could only output responses based on what it has in the database, it could potentially output an inaccurate response, or, in worst case scenario, straight up discriminatory ones. Now, from everything that I just pointed out, what kind of solutions could we implement to at least mitigate some of those issues? Well, in an education setting, for one, is to set clear AI usage guidelines. Teachers should clarify at what point they limit their students in using AI for assignments. My lecturer, for example, permits AI if we can correctly explain our code projects. Number 2 is not using it too much. If you use ChatGPT and all you do is just copy and paste the prompt results, then stop. Undo it and start over. Focus on understanding your main ideas in your work. And finally, as for these companies, first off is to do a re-evaluation of the AI demand, particularly if it is necessary to invest this much when they could invest in developing countries that lack access to technology. Secondly is to enhance the security of these data centers, increasing the data encryption, implementing strict security measures, etc., so that our sensitive information won't be breached easily. Thirdly, improving transparency on how our data is being used, and giving us the right to erase our data if we want to, especially if our data is being sold without consent. Finally is some data accuracy checked, and this is to make sure that the AI won't output biased responses to the user. Yes, our prompts factor in the quality of the output, but still. Anyway, I think that's everything I have to say. In summary, AI is effectively useful, but really on how useful it is comes down to the people who are using it. But until then, the future of AI will be decided by the economics, particularly the investments behind it. That's it for now, see you all in the next video everyone.